Hi, this is Dawn Moore, Workforce Engagement. This is a short demo of a tool that has been put together in an effort to support our disaster program managers and program specialists with their completion of a territory table of organization, as well as a territory specific engagement plan that aligns with our regional volunteer engagement plan. The engagement plan itself, that was reviewed in a separate recording, is a regional plan. And much of that plan is the higher level engagement processes that are in place for the department, not so much the territory level engagement pieces. So the territory engagement plan is an accompaniment to that regional plan and really shows how at the territory level the aspects of the engagement, the regional engagement plan are being executed. So there are two tabs. The form or the spreadsheet is titled Table of Organization and Engagement Planning Tool. The Table of Organization tool is the first, and this is designed to help you determine what type of TO you need to have for steady state within your territory. This will exclude DAT members in your territory because you can represent that on your TO as a separate box. We're already well established as to how many DAT members you need as a baseline and how many DAT members you have. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel with your DAT program. This is really designed for you to capture all of the other steady state positions that you're engaging within your territory. And that spans your activities, feeding, sheltering, distribution of emergency supplies, logistics, whatever you're engaging within your territory during steady state. Remember, each box on a table of organization has to represent actual work that is being delegated to a volunteer. One name per box, but you can have, of course, a volunteer's name in multiple boxes on your table of organization. So to give you a visual as to what a sample table of organization might look like, this is an older TO. I'm going to be sharing this template with you. Let me reduce the size of this a little bit so that you can see it. This is an example of a territory's table of organization chart, which depicts their logistics, external relations, direct services planning, and chapter preparedness. Now, your workforce engagement team has a solid reporting line to the workforce engagement manager, but it's okay to list workforce engagement under your territory, as long as there's an understanding that that's a dotted line to the DPM. This is an example, but I'll be honest, this is an incomplete table of organization because this does not represent all of the positions that are being engaged during steady state to ready that territory, but it's a sampling of some of the positions that are being engaged. So you'll go to the territory TO positions spreadsheet and you will enter any steady state position that you're engaging. Again, you don't have to put DAT on here, but any other position that you're engaging, from your territory leadership to the team members that you need to support your territory leadership. What tasks or roles are you engaging? So you'll put the name of the position. Every position must have a supervisor. And then you'll put a brief description of the responsibilities, or you can put C position description. If it's a standardized position that you're using, like for example, a feeding team member, then you don't have to write the position description in here. Just put C position description. But if it's a position that we don't have a position description for, or specific tasks that really don't fit the mold of a standard position, then you do need to write a brief description of what the responsibilities are of that role. You're going to place how many volunteers are needed, and your table of organization should depict a box for each needed position. And of course, the number of volunteers and the position. You also want to make a notation regarding the time commitment. So my recommendation is to do this first, then work on your visual table of organization. Because if you complete this, then you know what your table of organization is going to need to look like, because you're just taking the information that you've plugged in here. Really think about what your steady state needs are. Who are you engaging? Whether they're in a leadership role or they're just serving in a task-based role. Who are you engaging, and who else needs to be engaged? What positions need to be filled to ensure that you have a full team able to support your territory during steady state and to engage or to ready your territory for engagement operationally. The next tab is the engagement planning tab. And what I've done with this tab is I have pulled the elements from the regional volunteer engagement plan that are applicable to each disaster program manager and disaster program specialist. These are the parts of that plan that we have shared responsibilities for. So an example, welcoming new volunteers. How are you doing this? How is this being achieved within your territory? In addition to the disaster workforce engagement team welcoming new volunteers, the supervisor and the disaster program manager and specialist needs to connect with their new volunteers as well. So how are you accomplishing this? The timeline for completing this task is standardized at 7 days from introduction. And then here in this column, action items and notes, this is where you're going to notate anything applicable to this task. So for example, if you're not doing a task currently, or you know that there's some shortfall with executing that task, then you're going to place some notes and your plan for rectifying that in this box right here. So if you're not currently greeting volunteers, okay, no problem. You're going to begin placing a phone call to each new volunteer that's introduced to you, and you're going to start doing that by X date. Remember that any goals or action items are measurable, so you do need to indicate a due date as to when that needs to be completed. Providing a territory or chapter orientation. That needs to be scheduled within 7 days from introduction. Ensuring that a volunteer has an email address, name badge, access to the building, vehicles, etc. Checking in with volunteers after they've been introduced to a supervisor. How are you as a disaster program manager or specialist remaining connected with your volunteer workforce? And team meetings, which are required. How are you accomplishing this? Then there's a section for engagement and some key tasking in support of engagement, collaboration with DWET, collaboration with territory and regional activity leadership, empowerment and recognition and appreciation. And you're going to complete this tool, and that comprises your engagement plan for your territory, which will be attached to our regional volunteer engagement plan. If you have any questions about the regional volunteer engagement plan template, you're more than welcome. Please, I encourage you to research the tool or read through the tool, you can find it posted to the Exchange. I've provided the copy of the tool in several recent communications. And again, there is a recording that you can watch that will take you through the tool so that you can be best familiarized with it. I hope that this is helpful. Feel free to outreach if you have any questions or concerns. And thank you so much for your support of volunteer engagement in our region.